Doesn't seem to be any meaning. For me, at least, the religious texts, and I read it.
And if I do, I just try to find a corner table and that's kind of dimly lit or something where I can sort of stay out of the way.
Why Elon Musk lives differently than every billionaire, the richest man on Earth, reportedly doesn't own a primary home. Not because he can't afford one, but because he chose not to. While other billionaires race to collect private islands, mega-yachts, and sprawling estates worth hundreds of millions of dollars, Elon Musk, a man whose net worth has exceeded $300 billion, has repeatedly claimed his primary residence is a small prefabricated house near a rocket launch site in Texas. And the longer you study his choices, the more one unsettling question keeps surfacing. Das is a genuine philosophy, or the most carefully designed public image in history. Because here's what most people miss about Elon Musk. His lifestyle isn't just unusual. It's a direct contradiction of almost every rule billionaires follow. And understanding why he lives this way reveals something far more interesting than a man who doesn't like expensive houses. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to look at three things. First, the childhood that rewired how Musk thinks about money, comfort, and time. Second, the specific daily habits and choices that set him apart from every other person at his wealth level. And third, the uncomfortable question no one seems to want to answer. Is any of this real? Because the truth about Elon Musk is more complicated and more fascinating than either his supporters or his critics want to admit. To understand Musk's relationship with wealth, you have to go back long before Tesla existed. Long before SpaceX launched its first rocket, back to a childhood in Pretoria, South Africa, where a young boy with an obsessive mind discovered very early that the world had serious problems that no one seemed interested in solving. He didn't grow up poor, but he also didn't grow up shielded from difficulty. By his teenage years, he had already decided that the things most people spent their lives chasing, comfort, security, status, were, in his words, not the point. The point was the mission. And that mindset, forged long before he had a single dollar to his name, is the key to almost everything that comes after. Because when Musk made his first real money from the sale of Zip2 in 1999, he didn't slow down. He didn't buy a mansion and take a year off. He immediately poured nearly everything into his next venture. Then the next. Then the next. Colleagues from that era describe a man who seemed almost allergic to the idea of enjoying success. Not because he was unhappy, but because stopping felt to him like a kind of failure. Most people use money to buy freedom from work. Elon Musk appears to use money to buy the ability to work more. And that distinction explains choices that have baffled observers for decades. But it also raises a harder question, one we'll get to very soon. So what does living differently actually look like when you have almost unlimited resources? For Musk, it starts with time, specifically the obsessive protection of it. He has spoken publicly about scheduling his day in 5-minute blocks, not hours, minute. Every decision, every meeting, every commitment gets evaluated against a single question. Does this move the mission forward? During Tesla's most critical production crises, moments when the company's survival genuinely hung in the balance, Musk didn't manage remotely from a beach somewhere. He reportedly slept on the factory floor, not as a performance, not for cameras, because being physically present at all hours was the fastest path to solving the problem. Former employees have described working alongside him during those periods as both inspiring and brutal in equal measure. He brought the same intensity he demanded of himself and expected the same from everyone around him. Then there's the question of possessions. In 2020, Musk made headlines by announcing he was selling almost all of his physical properties. His California estate portfolio, worth tens of millions, was gone within months. His stated reason was simple: possessions weigh you down. And for a while, the narrative stuck. The world's richest man living in a tiny prefab house. The minimalist billionaire, but here's where the story gets more complicated. Court records later revealed that Musk had also purchased a home in the Austin area. Not a tiny prefab, but a real property acquired largely for privacy and security reasons surrounding his family. So the complete picture is more nuanced than the headline suggested. The minimalist philosophy is real, but it's not the whole story. And that gap between the public image and the private reality leads us directly to the most important question of all. Here's the uncomfortable truth about Elon Musk that most people don't want to sit with. It's genuinely difficult to know where his philosophy ends and his public image begins. On one hand, the consistency is remarkable. For more than 2 decades, across interviews, businesses, and wildly different chapters of his life, Musk has repeated the same core ideas. Purpose over comfort, speed over luxury, long-term impact over short-term indulgence. That kind of consistency, sustained across 20-plus years, is hard to fake. On the other hand, Musk is also one of the most media-savvy figures alive. Every statement about selling his homes, sleeping in factories, or rejecting billionaire excess generates enormous attention. And attention for someone building companies that depend on public belief and investor confidence is not a neutral resource. So is he a genuine ascetic, a workaholic visionary who truly doesn't care about material comfort? Or is he someone who has discovered that appearing to not care about material comfort is one of the most powerful brand decisions a billionaire can make? The honest answer is probably both. And the inability to fully separate the two is what makes him one of the most genuinely fascinating figures of our time. Because here's what we actually know. Very few billionaires are remembered simply because they became rich. They're remembered because they changed something. And whether you see Musk as a visionary, a workaholic, or a masterful self-promoter, one thing is almost impossible to argue with. The philosophy, real or performed, or somewhere in between, has produced results that almost no one predicted were possible. Reusable rockets, the world's most valuable car company, a global satellite internet network, whatever drives him, it works. So why does Elon Musk live differently than every billionaire? Not because he rejects wealth, not because he dislikes success, but because, genuine or constructed, he appears to value purpose over comfort, speed over luxury, and long-term impact over short-term indulgence. And perhaps that's the real reason the world can't stop watching him. If this video changed the way you think about Elon Musk, don't keep that opinion to yourself. Do you believe his lifestyle is driven by genuine purpose, or is it part of a carefully crafted public image? Share your perspective in the comments. I read them all, and the most thought-provoking ones often inspire future videos. If you're curious about the people shaping tomorrow's world, make sure you're subscribed, because the next story might completely change the way you see innovation.